The Greatsword is the most beloved weapon in Chivalry 2. We're going to get into why while I attack Galencourt with it. We'll have our usual narrated gameplay, we'll have some tips and funny moments along the way. The Greatsword is funny because it's a meta weapon, definitely S tier for TO, and it doesn't get hate the way weapons like the Spear, the Halberd, and the Messer typically do. No question about it, it's a fan favorite. I think interestingly, something that helps its case and its reputation is the Messer is played the exact same way, in my opinion, but directly outclasses it. So if you're choosing the Greatsword, maybe you're trying to use the Warhorn, or you just like the skins, you're using a meta weapon, but there would be an option to just use something that is directly better. The slow wind-up definitely helps because it does seem like faster weapons get more hate than slower ones. I think that does make them a little more difficult to use in certain cases. Think, for example, the longsword. It is mostly respected in TO. I mean, it definitely has haters, but because of how quick it is in duels, it does get a ton of hate there. I just think this game was a perfect example of why we love the Greatsword. I played it to its strengths. We ended up with a lot of kills. The game came down to the last 4 seconds. I'll let you guys see which way it ends up. This was originally supposed to be live commentary, but I kind of messed up the voice recording. Not exactly the biggest tool in the shed here, but I would like your guys' feedback on the live commentary because I think it's fun in a different way. That's a lot of the feedback I did get. Views were good, so it tells me people do like it. Narrated gameplay after the fact is always going to be the bread and butter of this channel because that's how I built up most of my recent audience. But now that I have the audio cleaned up and sounding much better, I've come back to it. Be as blunt as possible if you don't think it's worth uploading those anymore. But I will put up a community poll. Hopefully it'll be up by the time I upload this. And just check that out. It'll be on my channel page. And then you could vote and we'll kind of decide from there. But I will be doing it for a little bit longer. It's very hard to do these and play the game at the same time, so the gameplay is never as good. I still will give tips. Just, yeah, like I said, let me know. So that was a lot of talking, almost the entire first objective. I'll catch up with you guys 30 seconds a minute, something like that, as we go towards objective number 2. So as we pull off a nice counter feint here with the Greatsword, I want you guys to keep in mind something about the stab on this. The whole half sword thing it does makes it seem worse than it actually would be, but try stab dragging it, it'll just go so far and it's very easy to get around blocks. The reach may not be there and it's definitely not the primary attack you want to be using, but mix it in with your feints a lot and you'll be getting a lot of hits you wouldn't expect with other weapons. If this is your first video on the channel, please know that archers are the only people that are fair game. Everybody else, we don't really bother, we don't teabag, we don't grief, nothing like that. Even when my channel was much more popular and had more views, I would get teabagged a lot because of the whole content creator thing. And I didn't really go back at them unless it caught me on a bad day, just because it was such a regular occurrence and I guess they want their 5 seconds of fame. But archers are social rejects, as I said in my Archers Are Virgin video. So we focus all our negative energy on them.
Detonate those powder kegs!
Another great example is right here. We're going after someone with a heavy mace, but after he's going after the archer, we want to let him know, you take care of that guy. Unfortunately, he's going to sit back, not interfere, let the other guy tag in and take him from behind. He doesn't want to get in the way while the real alpha does work. Now, we haven't died yet, but we don't really care about a deathless run today. We can anyway, though, because someone's going to start attacking from behind. We do get an absolutely awesome teammate who's going to rush in like a berserker and try and help, but check this out. He's going to counter and hit me with an amazing Sword XL great kill. We're right back at him. We should be on the objective, but as of right now, our team is really loaded and we have a lot of killers, so we're not really too worried about the objective just yet. But I want you guys to pay attention. As this video goes along, we're going to lose some of those guys. Maybe they left or frustration, what have you. But they're going to get some field engineers that join on their side and completely turn the tide. So stay tuned to see how quickly this game changes. And I want you guys to see if you can point out the exact objective where it starts to change. And just a reminder, field engineers are the true heroes of Chivalry 2. They don't get the recognition they should. They make the ultimate sacrifice of keeping our team safe. And they definitely don't get the appreciation they should because the scoreboard always robs them, so thank them for their service in the comments below. Now it's about time we get on the other ship. I don't even think this is conscious, I'm just looking for more enemies, because right now, at this point, we are still rolling them a little bit. But here's where the Greatsword can be just so amazing. You can clear crowds with wide slashes, so we're going to start going up there, try and get in the fray, which is exactly what you want to be doing. But the overheads can one-shot archers, that's beautiful, we teabag him, that's half the reason I use this thing is those one-shots. This guy's AFK, that's a little different, sorry about that. But there's just very few weapons that really help you in the fray surrounded by enemies like this one. I really need to be working on my team damage. That's been a little bit of a problem lately. So something I've done in the last few months of playing this is try and pick one thing to get better at over time. Obviously, positioning was my biggest weakness half the time I've played this, maybe more, probably more, let's be honest. But now, the new focus I'm going to try and work on is team damage because I'm just not careful enough. I'm not trying to steal kills, but I get a little too reckless and tunnel vision for those enemies. Definitely something I gotta work on. So a few archer kills later, we're gonna spend a lot of time trying to get back into combat. I'm gonna skip ahead because I'm not doing a deathless run I'm trying to hide. I've already died once, and I do die a lot later, but I'm trying to respect your guys' time because this game did go on quite a while. We're having trouble maneuvering through this crowd, figuring out where to go and where to kill enemies and stay alive, but you'll never guess what happens next. Another great thing about the Greatsword is look at this reach. I'm going to crouch and stay a little out of range of his mace, and that overhead, you love the overheads on this thing. Able to get the kill on an enemy that was giving me a lot of trouble. Now, we're having a ton of trouble getting up to the gate. If it wasn't obvious, this is when a lot of our killers left, and they ended up getting field engineers in the game. So from this point forward, it's going to be tough sledding, and we want to try and make the difference in this one to get that win and start playing the objective more than we have the first few objectives. For example, they seem to have the front cleared of the barricade, so I'm trying to hold off this spawn wave even if it means I'll die. After they get it, I move more towards the gate, and I'm going to die in the explosion. But a quick tip is that if you die on an objective like this, another one that came to mind is the Aberfell Tower. If you die in that explosion, for whatever reason, it doesn't count as a death on your score sheet. So if you're trying to go deathless, just run into those. It's a little bit inconsistent though, because take for example Askendir when you're pushing over the columns. If you get killed by that, for whatever reason, that's a death. One of the best attacks in the entire game that will consistently land even on good players is right here. You're going to see me do an overhead light drag. The heavy drag on the overhead works well too, but it can get gambled a lot and people just excel through it. But the light overhead drag just hits so often. Definitely something you want to add into your repertoire. While this is a Greatsword showcase video, you can use it on the Messer to the exact same effect. It's also one of the best weapons to 1vx with. The slashes work great. If your target's switching to one person, you could throw an overhead. Too many enemies here, but we held them off for a little bit. Towards the end of the relics, I'm starting to pile up the deaths. I actually cut out 2 because I just rushed into a crowd. I was on the phone for a little bit. This is a little bit of a hard game to play when I'm talking to people in depth on a conversation. A tip I like to throw out is you answer your mom's texts or calls no matter what. If she is interrupting a deathless run, a 100 kill game, you still answer your mom's text, you only get 1. Don't be a bad son. I do stand by that tip about answering texts and calls from your mother, but it is going to lead to a lot of deaths. I am tempted to cut out some of them. I will cut out some of them, but this is kind of what they were like, is just rushing in for no reason, just not paying attention. I pride myself on honesty with you guys. It's why I kind of fast forwarded videos the first like 6 months of making the channel, despite people clicking off from what I saw in analytics at the time. But I'm trying to balance respecting your time and being honest still. All I'm saying is when you see that final death counter, there are a few that were just cut out because they didn't really offer anything to the video. Evidently, I forgot what bandages are. I keep trying to help teammates. It's going to lead to a death that I should have saw coming, but there's an example of where that stab feint can be so helpful before we take a death. Another good example of crouching to stay out of the one-hander's range, and then using the Greatsword reach to its full advantage. This was on purpose, as reckless as it was and a mistake. I do want to start pushing up because our team is really having trouble, as I've said at this point. The guy with the Highland Sword is definitely going to kill me if I make a run for the objective, but we want to start pushing up like a madman, and like I said, this is going to come down to the final 5 seconds. Stay tuned, let's see if we can get a win. With 5 seconds left, they're going to get it done. I'd love to be naive and say I contributed. I did send a lot of people to the spawn wave. I got a ton of kills, as you're going to see in a moment. But it's something I should have focused up more, especially on the end. I was pushing up recklessly and just going back to my own spawn wave a lot. No help to the team there. Again, I'm trying to do the objective more. And if you guys want to check out a video where I'm showcasing why the Raider is the best class for general pub stomping, it's on screen right now. Love you guys. See you in the next one.